They walked in thinking they had you figured out. They did not. And the moment they realized how wrong they were is the moment the addiction started. Not a choice, not something they decided to develop, something that happened to them in the specific, involuntary, completely out of their hands way that real addictions happen before they had any idea what they were getting into. Now they cannot stop. They have tried. I want you to know that. This is not someone who has simply surrendered to what they feel without making any effort to maintain their composure. They have made genuine, sincere, sometimes almost successful attempts to pull themselves back from the level of preoccupation you have installed in them without asking permission. The attempts have not worked. Because you are not a habit they can break. You are something they encountered that permanently altered what normal feels like. And when normal has been altered, returning to what existed before does not feel like freedom. It feels like deprivation. Stay with me, Virgo, because what I received today came through with a heat and a specificity that I want to deliver to you completely. Let me tell you what they expected. They expected someone they could enjoy without being consumed by. Someone appealing, someone interesting, someone worth their time and attention in the ordinary, manageable way that appealing and interesting people are worth your time without requiring you to reorganize your entire interior life around them. They had a container prepared. The size of it was reasonable, appropriately sized for someone they had heard about or observed from a distance or encountered in the early surface level stages of knowing. A container that fit comfortably within the architecture of a life they had organized carefully and were not looking to disrupt. And then they got closer, and you did not fit the container, not even slightly. What you actually are, the full, unedited, running at its natural voltage version of you that emerges when someone gets close enough to encounter it, is not something any reasonably sized container was going to hold. It spilled immediately in the first real encounter. Before they had time to find a larger container, before they had time to process what was happening, before they could do anything except stand there, while the thing they had prepared for was replaced by something considerably larger and more complicated and more extraordinary than they had anticipated. The container is in pieces. They are still standing in the middle of the pieces, looking at you, understanding now what they are dealing with. Let me speak to what the bad is, because the title uses it, and I want to be precise about what it means here. Not bad in the negative sense, bad in the way that the word has always carried a second meaning that has nothing to do with failure or wrongdoing. Bad in the way of something so good it breaks the ordinary scale, so compelling it disrupts the order of a life that was running perfectly smoothly before it arrived, so specifically and undeniably itself that it makes everything around it look like it is operating at a lower resolution. That bad. They did not expect that bad. And the not expecting of it is what made it land so hard. Because you can brace for something you see coming. You can prepare your defenses, build your distance, keep the appropriate amount of yourself protected from impact when the impact is anticipated. But the impact that arrives before the bracing is possible hits differently. You hit before they could brace. And what you hit when you arrived unannounced, at full force, simply by being who you are in the space they were sharing with you, was something in them that has not recovered since. Something that woke up when it encountered you and has been refusing to go back to sleep regardless of how inconvenient its wakefulness is. M. I want to describe the addiction specifically because addiction is a strong word and I am using it with full intention. There is a quality to what they feel about you that does not respond to reason. That is the first marker. The thing that separates what they are experiencing from ordinary attraction or ordinary interest or ordinary finding someone compelling is that none of the rational arguments they have made to themselves about it have produced any reduction in the experience. They have told themselves things, practical things, sensible things about timing and circumstance and the wisdom of not getting this deep into a feeling before the feeling has somewhere to go. The feeling did not listen. The second marker is the craving in the absence. When you are not there, your absence is a specific thing, not a neutral state. Not simply the condition of you not being present, which is nothing remarkable because most people are not present most of the time and this produces no particular response. When you are not there, there is a want active, located, directed specifically at the version of the world that contains you rather than the version that does not. They prefer the version that contains you strongly, in a way that the version without you is not simply neutral but is noticeably lesser, is missing something they can name, is running at a lower temperature than it runs when you are in it. And the third marker, the one that confirmed for them somewhere in the interior where you understand things you have not yet decided to name, is that more time with you does not produce satiation. This is the one that scared them. Because everything else in their experience has responded eventually to enough exposure. Everything else has followed the ordinary rules of diminishing returns. Everything else has moved over time from striking to familiar, and from familiar to comfortable, and from comfortable to background. You have not moved. The more they are around you, the more specific the wanting becomes, the more detailed, the more calibrated to the precise thing about you that no substitute can approximate because no substitute is you. The second marker is the craving in the absence. When you are not there, your absence is a specific thing, not a neutral state. Not simply the condition of you not being present, which is nothing remarkable because most people are not present most of the time and this produces no particular response. When you are not there, there is a want, active, located, directed specifically at the version of the world that contains you rather than the version that does not. They prefer the version that contains you strongly, in a way that the version without you is not simply neutral but is noticeably lesser, is missing something they can name, is running at a lower temperature than it runs when you are in it. And the third marker, the one that confirmed for them somewhere in the interior where you understand things you have not yet decided to name, is that more time with you does not produce satiation. This is the one that scared them. Because everything else in their experience has responded eventually to enough exposure. Everything else has followed the ordinary rules of diminishing returns. Everything else has moved over time, from striking to familiar, and from familiar to comfortable, and from comfortable to background. You have not moved. The more they are around you, the more specific the wanting becomes, the more detailed, the more calibrated to the precise thing about you that no substitute can approximate, because no substitute is you. And they have tried to find a substitute. I want to name that directly because I feel it is important for you to understand the full picture of what this person has been navigating. not to produce sympathy, though understanding produces something like it, but to give you the complete picture of how seriously they have attempted to manage what you have installed in them. They have redirected their attention deliberately to other people, other interests, other things that are genuinely worthy of attention and that should, by any reasonable measure, be sufficient to occupy the space you have taken up in their awareness. They are not someone who lacks options. They are not someone who has defaulted to you because nothing else is available. They have looked elsewhere, and elsewhere has consistently failed to produce the thing. The thing being the specific, particular, only available from you quality that you generate simply by existing, not manufactured, not reproducible, not approximatable by anything that is not precisely and specifically you. They kept coming back, not because they decided to, because coming back was simply what happened every time they tried to go somewhere else and found the somewhere else insufficient in the specific way that everywhere is insufficient when you have encountered the real thing. You are the real thing, and everything else is now measured against you. For some of you, the addiction started with something you said, one thing, a single sentence or observation or response that arrived so precisely and so unexpectedly that they experienced it the way you experienced something that reaches you at a frequency you did not know your own nervous system could receive. Something that made them feel, in the moment of receiving it, seen in a way that they had not been seen before, understood at a level they had stopped expecting understanding. They replayed that sentence multiple times in the hours immediately following, in the quiet moments of subsequent days, in the specific involuntary repetition that the mind performs on the things that matter to it beyond what it can account for. They heard it again in their own mind with the quality of something that keeps revealing new dimensions the more you look at it. One sentence, and it was over. For others, it started with the way you looked at them. Not a long look, not a theatrical moment of extended eye contact designed to produce an effect. A glance, brief enough to be deniable as significant, long enough to be impossible to dismiss as nothing. The specific, quick, full contact quality of your gaze when it actually lands on someone, the way it carries intelligence and warmth and something that feels in the receiving of it like being genuinely registered by another person rather than simply noticed. They felt registered. For someone who has been moving through a world full of people who look at them without seeing them, being registered by you arrived like a shock, a pleasant one, an addictive one. For others still, it started with your laugh. For others still, it started with your laugh. The people around this person have noticed something is different, not because they have said anything directly, not because the addiction has expressed itself in ways that are obvious or dramatic or require an explanation, but in the small, consistent, accumulating ways that changes in a person's interior life always eventually surface in their exterior one. They bring you up, not always by name, sometimes by reference, a topic that is adjacent to you, a quality that reminds them of you, a situation that gives them an excuse to speak about something you are connected to. The specific, slightly transparent conversational maneuvering of someone who wants to talk about a person without admitting how much they want to talk about that person. The people around them have heard your name more than the situation strictly warrants. Some of them have filed it silently. Some of them have exchanged looks with each other about it. And at least one of them, the perceptive one, the one who pays a different quality of attention to the people they love, has said something quietly in private to this person. Along the lines of, "You are more interested in this person than you are saying." The response was defensive in the specific way that accurate observations produce defensiveness, which is to say, the response was confirmation. Let me speak to where they are right now, this specific moment, what their interior looks like as we sit with this reading together. They are thinking about you. I know that is not surprising, but the quality of the thinking is what I want to describe. It is not passive. It is not the ambient presence of someone who simply occupies a warm corner of their mind in a pleasant, undisturbing way. It is active, specific, moving between the memory of particular moments with you and the imagination of moments that have not happened yet, between what they know of you and what they want to know, between what has already passed between you and what they believe, not hope, believe is still coming. They have a sense of the future between you that they cannot account for rationally. A certainty that has no evidence base except the specific quality of what they have already experienced, which has proven itself to be sufficiently extraordinary that they are trusting it as a predictor of what comes next. What comes next, they believe, is more of the thing they cannot get enough of, more of you. Does this feel like someone in your world, Virgo? Does the description of this person's specific, involuntary, not responding to reason experience of you land somewhere recognizable? Have you noticed the quality of someone's attention shifting into something that has more weight to it, more direction? More of the specific focus that belongs to people who are further gone on you than they have admitted out loud? Let me know in the comments. Tell me when you first felt this person's energy shift. Tell me what moment you think started it. Because I feel so many of you already know exactly who I am describing. Inhale. Now let me tell you the part that came through most clearly when I sat with this reading, the part that I feel belongs specifically to you in this moment. You did not do anything to create this, not a strategy, not a careful presentation of the most appealing version of yourself, not the deliberate deployment of any of the qualities I have been describing in the direction of this person's susceptibility. You simply showed up as yourself in the full, natural, running at your actual frequency way that you show up when you are comfortable enough to be who you are without monitoring it. And who you are, running at its actual frequency, is the thing that produced this addiction in someone who thought they were immune to this kind of impact. Nobody is immune to the actual you, not when they get close enough to encounter it without the distance that makes immunity possible. That is not vanity. That is simply what happens when something genuinely extraordinary moves through the world without dimming itself for anyone's comfort. You have not been dimming yourself, and this person has been receiving the full voltage. They did not expect to be this affected. They are this affected, and they are not recovering. Let me speak to what they want to do about it, because the addiction has reached the point where simply having it, simply sitting inside it and experiencing it privately is no longer fully sufficient. There is a pressure building toward expression. toward doing something with what has been building in them rather than simply continuing to carry it. The expression is forming, not yet delivered, still in the interior, still taking shape, still being organized into a form that this person feels is equal to the weight of what they actually feel, but forming with the specific, deliberate pace of something that is being built carefully because the stakes of getting it wrong are high enough to warrant the care. When it arrives, and it is arriving, with the specific momentum of something that has passed the point of being preventable, what you receive is going to have the quality of something that has been held for a long time before being released. Real things that have been held for a long time feel different when they are released. They land with a weight that reflects the duration. This is going to land with weight. Be ready to receive it fully. As I close this reading, I want to say something to you directly. The person I have been describing, the one who did not expect you to be this bad, who is secretly navigating an addiction to you that has disrupted the comfortable organization of their life, is responding to something real. Not a performance, not a curated version, not the best possible presentation of yourself that you deploy strategically in the direction of people you want to impress. The real thing, the specific, unrepeatable, nobody else is this combination of qualities that exists in you and that you carry through your life without apology and without awareness of the specific effect it generates in the people who get close enough to feel it. That combination is what they are addicted to, and you are going to be okay with that. Not because you owe them the feeling or because their addiction creates an obligation on your part, but because knowing that someone is secretly, completely not recovering from it, moved by who you actually are, not who they wanted you to be, not who they expected, but who you actually turned out to be, is information you deserve to carry about yourself, about what you are, about the effect of being fully, unapologetically this bad at being ordinary you. If this reading resonated, please share it with a Virgo who needs to feel this energy today and leave me a comment below. Tell me how this landed. Tell me if you recognize the shift in this person. Tell me what moment you think started all of this. I read every single word you share with me, every comment, every story. I carry your energy long after this reading ends. Until next time, Virgo, they did not expect you to be this bad. Nobody ever does, and nobody ever recovers.